Lower.
Here.
Munson.
Here.
Nelson. Here. Smock.
Here.
Wagner.
Here.
Yates.
Here.
Right. And any additions or deletions?
None that I have.
All right. Next, we have public comments. Do we have any public comments? Most likely. Yeah. Board comments. Board comments.
I think we're gonna talk about that tonight, but registration open, the joint annual conference. So to start considering that, if you'd like to go. Sorry.
It's all right. If you remember it, let us know.
The spring governance meetings also.
Yeah, and Letha Owen, who has been our division rep from IASB, is, of course, she's now officially retired. And so we'll be meeting the new person. I'm not quite sure who it is yet, but I'm sure we'll be meeting with her at some point in the future.
No other board comments? Was there correspondence going around? There's a couple, aren't there?
Two.
Yeah.
I did think of that.
Okay, go ahead. Go.
Last month they put the call out for resolutions. So if you can think of something our district would like to propose as a resolution to be lobbied for at the state capitol. This problem that we have, we think we know a good solution for it. If we can get it before the state legislature and the governor. If you can think of something you should address, let me know. We have to have them turned in by June 26th. And then they'll be voted on in November 23rd.
Thank you. Who were the correspondents? Oh, okay. Thank you from the staff providing lunch from the what will be the Early Learning Center. So, Mrs. Chaucer. Thank you. All right. Number 6, approval of consent agenda. Is there anything anyone would like taken out of there for consideration? There's 3 resignations in there as well. If not,
Is there other correspondence?
oh, right here. I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second? Jake Lower second. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Lower.
Yes.
Munson.
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes.
Smock.
Yes.
Wagner.
Yes.
Yates.
Yes.
All right, motion carried. 7 is committee report. 7.1 Finance Committee report is in your board packet. Any questions or concerns about that from anyone?
One thing I would like to highlight in there that I discussed with the committee, and I'll remind you of it again when we get to the budget discussion, that there is a likelihood that I will have to write a deficit reduction plan as part of this amended budget due to the expenditures related to our construction. We issued $16 million in bonds 2 fiscal years ago, and so all that revenue is pegged in that fiscal year, which made you an outstanding report card for 2 years after that. Unfortunately, now that we're starting to spend it all down in a single year, it works the other direction as well. And so there may be some additional implications for that. I've got to call into ISB to see if that's really necessary, because that expenditure is all capital expenditures based on that bond sale out of the building fund for construction purposes, and they are one-time expenditures that will go away once those projects are completed. I'll have more information for you on that at our June board meeting.
Policy committee, is there anything, just the policies that we're to vote on? Next, there was nothing else that came out of that. Transportation committee, we have a minutes on that one. Not finding it in my,
Go to.
there it is.
Yeah.
Nothing to add. Then building and grounds, we have the minutes in from March that we've been missing. It's my fault. Those are in your packet, and then we had a meeting on Monday, and we were gonna discuss a couple of things that came out of that meeting. And some of those are in your board packet. What's that? Storm shelter square footage calculator. Board packet. So, currently, we don't have a storm shelter at the high school, and we don't have one here, we don't have one at Apollo. We did have to put one in at New Boston, just based on code requirements, but with the updates at the high school, the storm shelter is not required. So, Bray wanted to know the direction we'd like to go. It adds about $800,000 to the construction process to add a storm shelter. With this phase, we're doing classrooms, so it doesn't make for a great storm shelter area. Typically, when they build a building, it's the gymnasium, cafeteria area where you can, each kid has to have 5 square feet. There has to be bathrooms accessible, all those things. So they sent it through the state, said we don't need to have the storm shelter, and they were just kind of wanting to get a idea from the board as to what direction we'd like them to go. So calculations are all in your board packet. We don't have to make a final vote on it because it's not a, I guess I'm looking for feedback. The committee basically kind of had the idea that it's $800,000 and it's not required by code, not required by the state. We don't have them in most of the other buildings. So our recommendation to the building and grounds is to proceed without it. If anybody has a strong objection or concerns, we can discuss.
One of the things that they suggested is if at a future time we wanted to add that, phase 3 lends itself very well to that, with the addition of a wrestling room on one side and a gym on the other, with restrooms or locker rooms in between. And so it would be very easy to add at that point, probably with less expense than trying to convert a large number of classrooms or to add additional bathrooms in the cafeteria commons area.
Give them a direction, just move forward with following code. The other things we talked about in the meeting, their agenda is in there. It shows some different, or well, the agenda doesn't have it, but they went into the schedule. We talked about exterior options. Did they send those over?
Yeah, they're in your packet as well. That's the pretty one with the picture. You can see the design there.
show phase one and phase two with 3 different options on the front. And they asked our direction, and I don't know if we gave them clear direction, but we told them what we liked and what we didn't like of each one. So I'm sure they'll come back with some additional options or take into consideration the things that we brought up. Is there anything else?
I do have a couple other items for the building and grounds bill.
Okay.
One of the things that we've discussed on a number of occasions is the potential window replacement for this building. I did receive the estimate that we'd requested late this afternoon from Graham and Hyde, who's been in charge of our health life safety work. The opinion of Graham and Hyde for the estimate cost was $367,000 for this building, and that does not include the greenhouse windows out there. So I did ask them, because they didn't include the quote on an estimate on the greenhouse windows, to also include that, because there are a number of them where the seals are broken and you can see the moisture is clouding the windows on that space. I also do have a quote related to some repair and resealing in this parking lot. This is certainly not the only parking lot that we need to deal with. At some point, when we're finished with the Apollo construction, that concrete needs some repair in a number of areas, and but we won't be able to get to that this summer because of the ongoing construction over there. But this, as an asphalt lot, is much easier to deal with, and I have a quote from Proline, who did the ceiling here several years ago, and striping for a total amount of $28,500. And those are some projects that we're going to study a little more, and I'll bring a recommendation next month.
That's good. Now, Mr. CDAM.
Yeah.
The windows here in this building, if 376,000, maybe a lot to bite off at once. Are there some that are, like, I know there's some that are really bad. Are there some that could?
I have not walked through the building and
Okay.
scaled each window.
Okay.
one
I
to
just
10
didn't know if we
which
could do it in
ones.
phases to.
If you want me to do that, I can put a phase plan together.
I don't-
These 10 or whatever you're asking.
Your estimate's based on $4,500 an opening.
Okay.
And they would use windows like we put in the new addition down here.
Okay.
They are non-opening, aluminum frames,
Sure.
you know.
No, no worries.
When you do
double-
like phasing
double
of
pane
those
insulated
types of
will be-
things, that usually ends up costing a lot.
A little more, yeah.
More.
Yeah.
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 That could be a good school maintenance grant for next year's
That's true.
application,
That's
because
very good. Yeah.
Windows certainly will qualify as a health life safety
Yep,
amendment.
that sounds great. Okay. Yeah, bring us a recommendation.
I had, and I maybe we can talk about it later in the information items number 7. But I just had some questions about the phases, and would you rather talk about that then? Or,
On which,
for the phases, there's construction financing number 7 on information items. And I don't know if we're gonna discuss this again then?
we might as well, we can tackle it now.
Yeah,
Okay.
that'd be a good thing.
It's something I've been wondering, and maybe help me out, and I wasn't able to go on Monday, but the thing that's baffling me about the different phases is we know we can afford phase 1. We're close on the line to affording phase 2, and phase 3 seems to be out of our ability. I mean, even with phase 2, we're gonna be over our maximum allowable debt. And so when I see that phase 1, we're putting in all of this new wing and these new classrooms because we're out of space. And yet in phase 2, we want to tear down the old wing and remove a bunch of classrooms. I realize there'll be a couple more added onto the new wing. But we can't do phase 3 wing. So we're removing the old wing to put in the gyms that we can't afford to do right now until maybe 2040. I guess I don't understand why we want to tear down a bunch of classrooms that we already have. I mean, that's my biggest concern right now is we have all these classrooms available to us if we get done with phase one, but to make the front look nice or a different driveway or whatever, we're going to tear down the old wing that we could still utilize when we probably don't need to tear it down until we are able to afford phase three. I guess that's my concern with phase two is tearing down the old wing. I really don't want to do that when I know Mrs. Cooper has said we're forced to, you know, we're having to offer these new sections of different classes and we need space, we have new staff coming in. I just don't, I guess my concern is why do we want to tear down that old wing until we're ready to put the new gym and wrestling gym in, until that becomes affordable for us, I guess is my concern.
I think I'm hoping that phase two has all rooms that you needed.
Well, I mean, I think that's a valid concern because we're gonna move from, we currently have 20 classrooms available to us in that north wing. With the addition of phase one, that jumps us to 35 classrooms.
I thought when we,
I'm counting it.
well, the thing that's frustrating to me is we sat in building and grounds meetings, we said, talk to the school, make sure that you have all the classrooms you need, and you're telling us now, when they're already going out to bid, that we don't have enough classrooms.
I told them that from the jump, that there weren't enough. Let me go and look at it again.
Did you understand it that way? You were there and heard
I was
what?
there when she said that.
I heard her say that, and then I heard then they said that they were working that out, you were gonna go back with her and work it and get that
They never
fixed.
came back to me.
How many classrooms are we down?
That's enough.
Yeah, we have 20 currently in the two-story wing. With the addition of the connecting, we would jump to 35, several of which are absolutely needed. One of them is, as I toured in part of the building today, the chemistry lab is certainly one that needs to be replaced. Its original building has seen no updates since it was constructed.
So
In-
I'm sorry,
you know, with the addition of phase two, it drops it to 23 classrooms. That does get you your new science classrooms. The question is
So
20?
23 is not less than 20.
No, it's not. But I think
Go
as,
up to more in phase one, and then they're gonna scale back until less than we have to start.
Right, so I understand that if you don't tear anything down and you build 15 new classrooms or whatever you build, you're gonna have more than what you started with, but I thought that was the idea, was to end up with more, and we're gonna have 23 versus, we have 20 now, and if we did phase two, we're gonna have 23.
that's 3 more, and right now.
What, but 3 more is still 3 more than what we have.
It is, but it's not sufficient for what we need.
And it's not necessarily on our fault that we don't, that we need more rooms. The state's requiring a lot of things from us now that we're gonna have to expand just to fulfill state requirements anymore. But I
So
was
how many
just-
more classrooms do we
I-
need than 23?
Well, that's what we've been talking about, and that is subjective, I guess, because, so right now, for next year, we have a teacher who's gonna be teaching, who's not gonna have a home base, they're gonna have to hop from class to class. Right now, we also have to get really creative when we schedule, because our driver's ed teacher has to hop and has to share with our special education rooms. So, really, we could use 2 additional classrooms for this year in general, just for everybody to have their own space. And then we also, I put in the information within the next year or so, we really need to look at adding another social studies teacher. So then there's your 3 classrooms right there, and then that doesn't allow us any room for growth for adding other gonna spend all this money, we need to look at, is this gonna be sustainable for the programs we want to offer 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, and 23 is not?
What is, how do we get?
That's the thing, is I don't know if that,
Can't.
I don't know what the number would be, right? I mean,
Yeah,
I'd
it's
rather
not-
have extra space than not enough, cause right now too,
I've not heard this.
yeah.
And it's gonna be difficult not to, I mean, it's gonna be difficult for them to do something for you that you can't, you didn't tell them what you wanted and you don't know what you wanted.
You don't have it.
Right, if you don't have a target, it's hard to.
Did you know we didn't have classrooms? Like that we weren't gonna be adding on enough classrooms? Cause I'll be honest
We
with
know
you,
it's tight.
I'm
Yeah.
a little irritated that we didn't add on more classrooms at Apollo last year because we're being told that, you know, we can't move the pre-K back now because we don't have enough room at Apollo. We got too many kids and we just did a building phase there. And I don't know,
Like I said, 23, we can do what we're doing now and be much more comfortable than we are, and every teacher would have their own room, and that would be great. But if we wanna add anything, any more programs, any more staff, any more, that is gonna be tough.
And the reason for consolidation was to combat declining enrollment, and now we're trying to figure out how to expand. That doesn't, I don't know. I'm confused.
Well, one of the things that you need to remember, the high school at consolidation is the only building that you really, increased enrollment in. You went from probably 300 kids in Aledo with another 100 or more from Westmore to 400 kids in the same building. At New Boston, you would have stayed the same. At Apollo, you would have stayed the same. At the junior high, your enrollment there dropped like a rock in that building. You went from being a 612 Westmore building to a 7-8 consolidated building, 200 kids. So you probably went from 300 or maybe more, 350 to 200. In this building, you went from a 6-7-8 Aledo junior high to a 5-6 consolidated, again with 200. So those buildings all saw excess space. And the high school got squeezed because it was the same footprint. So I think, some of those things have built over time, and now with the requirements to add programs, three is doable. But and with the layout of what we have there, it's difficult to do much more.
So-
I was looking at, I was asking Jake too, it seemed like the plan here that is in the board packet, it seems like it's a little different than when they came and did the slideshow presentation.
It is like-
it is,
I didn't
cause
know if
they
they
had
had
a,
changed some things since.
They just squared up
They
something with the
squared
way
it.
they were gonna attach it. They squared up something.
They used to have
Right
a
where,
Angled hall.
they had an angled hallway, they kind of went in and made rooms triangular.
Do we have to tear down that classroom when we want to really
Well, so the reason why is that, I mean, when we were going through this, there's repairs that need to be done to that. It's same typical type of repairs that needed to be done at Joy or.
well, the same type of repairs we already did to the
gym.
gymnasium, the
Right.
lintels we think are, we already
Yeah.
inspected those, we think those lintels are.
Yeah, the
Well, we could
the
probably
lintels
stay
are
in.
deteriorating, the two major bathrooms in there, that was a big renovation cost. Because you've got full-size bathrooms at each end, or on the first and second floor, and then a smaller one at the other end, that I think those estimates were nearly $1 million apiece to gut and replace those bathrooms.
Mr. Yates, I went back, I found the document that I gave to Ray when I was at the last meeting. I did break out for them a speculated classroom need at completion of all projects, and I broke it down. 4 VOTEC classrooms, 3 existing current buildings, 2 biology labs, 1 chemistry lab, 1 physics lab, 3 sped rooms, 1 living skills sped room, 1 food science room, and 16 regular classrooms. So I gave them specific numbers.
Will you send that to me? Cause I'm gonna send that to them tomorrow and find out.
Is that number, or is that 29?
So that's-
Right, it sounded like 13 and then 16 classrooms for 29.
29.
Okay.
Now granted, that's also including our
VOTEC.
VOTEC rooms that already exist.
How many's in there?
So-
There's 3 currently in there.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So we're too
So
short.
we're close. I mean, it's close, but still, yeah. Still not what we asked them
Three.
for.
Pretty
my mind, if we asked them to add on more classrooms, I don't know why they just wouldn't add some more on. I mean, I don't remember anybody saying, well, we're gonna stick with this, and if you want
Right.
that, if they were questioned about that, they'd said, well, this is, you know, an addition to phase one, or whatever you wanna call it.
And we were already taking over the street with phase two, so adding more classrooms would be, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, so I'm confused.
You should have that now.
Thank
And-
you.
And I have contacted the city about that as well,
'Cause that
about
was-
encroachment potentially into the street, and they actually have a meeting tonight where that's probably being discussed now. And I included in your packet just a map of what we're talking about. It said, it's labeled street map. And I shared this with the city administrator. This is potentially the pieces we're talking about. The stub of the road that comes off the highway, that's technically still South College Avenue, and then 14th Street that runs from College up to 2nd Avenue.
Guess we'll be having another building and grounds meeting soon. All right. Well, Julie, honestly, thanks for bringing that up, because I don't think most of us were aware
Well,
that.
I can
that's-
sympathize with high school and junior high teachers who have to move from classroom to classroom, because that sucks.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's what we thought we were.
Sorry, I'm blunt, but it's no fun.
Okay. Any other discussions on building and grounds that anyone has? All right. We'll move on to the action items. We have milk and bread. Bread and milk bids and fuel bids. We have two bread, or
No, and
we just get the one?
we received the one, which after some further investigation does not meet our bid specs. And I would change my recommendation that we reject that bid at this time.
Okay. So do we need to reject it or just no action?
I think we should probably reject that
Okay.
bid at this time.
Like the one from Kohl's.
No, it's the one from Pan of Gold. Pan of Gold cannot deliver to multiple sites. Their ability to supply fresh bread this year has been terrible. They claim they don't have drivers to serve a rural area, and so when they have delivered bread, it's been to a single site. We have to disperse it to all of our other schools. Kohl's, our food supplier, although their bread is frozen, does deliver to all of our sites. And both head cooks have said that they haven't seen any problems with that.
So are we, because they both bid, right? So are we
Yeah,
just
we-
accepting,
we-
just accepting Cole's bid? Okay. Do we
Yeah.
need to take a vote to reject Anna Gold's, or do we just say we're accepting Cole's?
Because I don't have a formal bid. We have some pricing from Kohl's.
Oh, that's not a
but I-
formal bid. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Got
Yeah.
single bids.
That-
Okay.
That we reject
That
that
makes sense.
Pan of Gold.
All right. Well, I would entertain a motion to reject the bid for Anna Gold.
I'll move to reject bid for Manuel.
Second. Any discussion? All right. Roll call.
Munson,
Yes.
Nelson. Yes. Smock,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Yates,
Yes.
Fuller.
Yes.
All right. Rejection is passed. And then we've got Prairie Farms. For milk, they were the only bidder, correct?
Yes, and that recommendation does stand to accept the bid from Prairie Farms.
All right. I would entertain a motion to accept the milk bid from Prairie Farms?
I'll move.
Munson moves, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Lower second. Roll call, please.
Nelson. Smock.
Yes.
Wagner.
Yes.
Yates.
Yes.
Lower.
Yes.
Munson.
Yes.
Motion passes. Fuel bids, FY '25 fuel bid. We had Halco, Lincoln Flint, North Star.
And the recommendation is to, and I think if you're looking at the old sheet, that wasn't updated. Our supplier this year was Blick and Blick Oil. Halcom is the low bidder this year. Those two companies have flipped back and forth for the last several years. And this year, Halcom is considerably lower on all of their fuels.
Entertain a motion to accept the Halcom fuel bid.
I'll move.
Munson moves, is there a second?
Second.
Nelson seconds. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Smock.
Yes.
Wagner.
Yes.
Yates.
Yes.
Lower.
Yes.
Munson. Munson.
Yes. Sorry.
Nelson. Yeah.
All right. 8.2, registration fees.
The recommendation was to keep our registration fees the same as we have the last couple of years. Last year, we actually eliminated a number of those additional fees, as well as moving to our free breakfast and lunch for all students under the community eligibility option.
Have any questions?
And that move did increase our hot meal count substantially.
Anyone entertain a motion to approve the registration fees for FY '25 as presented?
Registration fees.
Yates, any second?
I'll second it.
Munson, second. Roll call, please.
Wagner.
Yes.
Yates.
Yes.
Lower.
Yes.
Munson.
Yes.
Nelson.
Yeah.
Smock.
Yes. 8.3, press policies, quarterly update. It's in our board packet, it's been in the board packet for a couple of months now. Anything you recommend we accept or?
Yeah,
I did.
The recommendation was to accept them, the changes. These were routine changes from the School Board Association that we discussed last month.
And even if you don't want to accept them, you have to.
Yeah, exactly.
Did the policy committee members see any issues when they reviewed?
I would entertain a motion to approve the press policy quarterly updates.
I'll move.
Yates moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Wagner seconds. Voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. 8.4, approve audit firm for FY '24.
Lawrence and Associates out of Peoria is one of the largest school auditors in the downstate area, and they've been our auditors since 2018. We have a good relationship and feel like they've been much more timely in the last couple of years, and also that we've received good pricing from them as well. So my recommendation is that we retain Gorin's for FY '24.
All right.
I got a little discussion. I know that typically you would every so often maybe change up to get a different set of eyes on things. Is that necessary?
At some point, yes. We did change auditors in 2018. We'd used Kavanaugh out of Monmouth for several, actually we'd used Kavanaugh out of Monmouth since consolidation. So
I'm
from,
not sure we used them the whole time because I think we had that same discussion way back.
Shoemaker had
Yeah.
to change it a couple times.
Yeah, it seemed like that we changed, but I don't know what we changed it to. I don't know if we went from one right back to the other, you know, or what, but that was the only discussion.
we did,
Sometimes
we
it
did
gets
seek,
chunky.
seek out a new auditor when we decided to leave Kavanaugh. And there is another local firm now in the Quad Cities that does a lot of governmental auditing.
And I'm just bringing that up for suggestions so that.
And
anybody
it
else
is
has
a good
that, right?
recommendation every 5 to 10 years to change auditors, that you don't.
Because
you don't
things
spend your
sometimes
entire-
get too chummy and certain ones overlook certain things and everybody gets all, oh, it's fine or whatever, kind of an attitude. Just because everybody knows everybody and when a new set of eyes look at things, sometimes that helps make sure everything's on track, so.
And like I said, one of the other firms that actually works with several of our neighboring districts is Bonsack and Frommel. And you know at least one of those people. Bonsack is local. And Mia Frommel is also lives in this area now.
The total fees is $28,000.
Those fees have grown over the last several years due to the single audit expenses as districts have received more and more federal funds through programs like ESSER 1, ESSER 2, and ESSER 3, that even small districts have met that threshold for a single audit, and so that has increased their expenses substantially.
Would entertain a motion to accept, or approve, approve, the audit for Warren Associates for FY '24.
I'll move.
Lindsay, is there a second?
Second.
Lower seconds. Roll call, please.
Yates,
Yes.
Lower,
Yes.
Munson,
Yes.
Nelson. Yes. Smock.
Yes.
Wagner.
Yes.
8.5, approve consolidated district plan.
The Consolidated District Plan, remember, is an annual requirement from the State Board of Education that explains how we use multiple sources of state and federal funding to meet the needs of our neediest students. So that includes like Title I, Title II, Title IV funds, IDEA flow-through monies, and IDEA pre-K, and how we use those funds to support all students. So that I've included a couple pieces of that document in your packet that explain how we proceed with that. And that's a requirement in order to write all of the grants that actually bring those funds to the district.
Entertain a motion to approve the consolidated district plan.
Move to approve the district.
Lower moves. 8 seconds. Is there any discussion? Roll call. Oh, we do voice vote? All right, voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And approve Illinois Funds Investment Account, we talked about last.
last month. Illinois Funds is a investment account run by the state of Illinois that's available to governmental entities and nonprofit agencies that has routinely been paying interest rates hovering just above 5.4% in the last several months. That's certainly an attractive interest rate as the district might be entering into a large borrowing bonding issue where you might bring in, you know, $13 million or $19 million. Although we do receive a very favorable rate from Bank Orion, it's lower, much lower than what we would receive with some investments in Illinois funds. They are available day to day. There is no commitment. If you put $1 million in today, I can take $1 million out tomorrow and earn whatever interest might accrue during that 24-hour period. So it's not like investing in any kind of long-term CD or anything like that might pay a similar percentage.
We didn't have anything in our packet on that, did we?
Just the interest rates through this week.
Yeah, and I had I think I included the same documents as last month with an updated interest rate.
No, it's-
Oh, it was in an email. There it is, okay. All right, I see that, 5.42, 5.2. Okay.
Coming down a little bit.
All right.
Not after the Fed's meeting yesterday.
Well, go back the other way.
All right, I would entertain a motion to approve an Illinois Funds investment account for the district.
Second. Oh, wait, did you say entertain?
Yeah.
I move to approve the Mercer County enter into Illinois Funds Investment Account.
I'll second that.
Motion by Wagner, second by Yates. Roll call, please.
Munson,
Yes.
Nelson. Smock,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Yates,
Yes.
Lower.
Yes. All right, motion carries. Information discussion items. Number 9, FOIA requests. Add FOIA request, I saw. Transportation employees. Any questions about the FOIA request? On to FY '24 budget.
Okay, I direct you in the board drive to the FY24 budget summary sheet. But it's called Budget Overview Amended.
Okay.
And what you see there is a comparison of the adopted budget from last fall to the amended budget. And this is the piece I discussed a little bit earlier. You can see a huge growth in the expenditures in the operation and maintenance fund related to our building projects. An increase of about $2.5 million due to the accelerated pace that they were able to go through the mild winter. And that's one of the things that, you know, we're actually contemplating having occupancy of that new building in August down there. So that's the biggest piece of our budget change here. You'll also see that some revenues have been shifted around a little bit. That was a result of our audit as well as some of the expenditures. We had to move a number of expenditures out of the ed fund or back into the ed fund that we expensed the deficit in our ed fund spending for the fiscal year at this time. Right now, I'm just estimating our June construction bill and the bills that you approved. If you looked at it this month, you know, we're looking at big bills there that really affect the budget as we move forward. The bill this month was about $865,000, and so if we see another $1 million, you know, and I'm budgeting what you see in this tentative budget is anticipating another payment along those same lines, but it might be as much as $250,000 more or $250,000 less too. We just don't know at this time, but that was a really big concrete pour down there today, and I guarantee you that's going to be on next month's bill.
Anyone have any questions? We'll have a budget hearing next month. Right. Moving on, 9.3, Mercer County FFA chapter, final report. Thank you for coming.
I'm Aurora Fisher, president of the Mercer County FFA chapter for the 2024-2025 school year. I'm here on behalf of our chapter to thank you for all the support you give. This year, the Mercer County FFA chapter had 250 members, some of which took multiple ag classes. Therefore, in the spring semester, there were 322 students enrolled in ag classes, and in the fall semester, we had 324 students enrolled. Our members have also participated in many career development events and have had much success, with the horse judging team winning the non-regions division of the state contest, the novice vet science team winning their section contest, and the meat and poultry judging teams winning their section contests. We have also had a lot of success in proficiencies this year, with 5 winners at the section level and Caleb Wagner winning state with his nursery operations proficiency. We also gave 6 $1,000 scholarships this year as well. Our four FFA members will be receiving their state FFA degrees at state convention this year, as well as 3 who will be receiving their American FFA degrees at national convention. We have also donated $1,500 to the community this year for our program. The department is very grateful to have received a great deal of support from the administration and the school board. The department receives tremendous support from the community as well. The members are working on projects geared towards serving the community and showing our appreciation for the support we have been given. And thank you all again for all your support for our ag program and our FFA.
Thank you.
I'll piggyback off of Aurora. She's now our president, and I give this girl a lot of credit. She's done a lot of contests and had a great year. Ready to see what her senior year brings them. But on behalf of myself, Brandon will probably speak to you, and Mr. Hart, who's not here, a sincere thank you. I love my job. I'm excited I get to be here at the junior high too. That is a great addition, and I'm excited to see what the change is with that addition when they come in as freshmen. You know, I have a relationship. I'm excited to see that change next year. So thank you for your support, letting us do what we do with all these kids to have success. And on behalf of all of us ag teachers, thank you.
And I guess I'll piggyback off that. Obviously, we've seen, I think, great support the past 3 years in my time here. We and Mr. Hart are very well connected with ag teachers across the state, and we get to see just how much support we have here versus where, you know, school districts across the state have for vocational programs. I was looking at a little bit of the statistics from our guidance counselor's office for this graduating senior class, and of the 72 on the list, I think 34 of them were related or interested in careers after high school related to vocational classes that we currently teach or offer. An additional 15 are interested in a career that deals with something related to public speaking, which is something that all 3 of us ag teachers feel very passionate about. So over half of our graduating senior class can take real tangible skills away from the the skills that we're able to offer. We would not be able to do that without the support from our administration here now at the junior high and high school, as well as from the school board. So sincerely, from vocational department, the ag department, thank you guys for that support. The fact that we're able to see 250 kids at least one time a day and 324 at least twice or at least duplicated amount is impressive, especially in a school of 380. To be able to see that many students through 3 classrooms throughout the day is impactful in my mind. So thank you for that support, and hopefully we continue to see the program grow. I know as we were talking about classroom spaces earlier, and it's in your guys' final report, we would love to see the addition of an additional vocational teacher. I realize that the implications of that with building restrictions and spaces allotted for that, but we could certainly see the program continue to grow. 3 years ago when we were hired, we were one of the few schools in the state that offered a 3rd position for a school our size. We are now seeing schools copying that design left and right across the state. They're realizing that vocational skills need to be offered in high schools, and they're really realizing that those programs need to grow. So thank you guys for being on the leading front of that change and that push, so that maybe our students can continually better themselves as they continue to graduate from high school. So thank you truly again from the vocational department and ag department.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Livingston, I think I asked you this question last year, because you had 3 American farmer degrees then.
Yep.
And you got 3 more this year.
Yep.
How many statewide American farmers are awarded in Illinois? Do you know that?
On the
Because in many districts, they may never have an American farmer.
To put the data at least in on a national level, it's less than half of 1% earn their FFA degree for ag students nationwide. In the state of Illinois, I don't know if I could put a number on that, but I can tell you that from our section, we're getting ready to offer 3 of those American degrees, and that number from our section may only be at 12. So the fact that there are 10 schools and only 12 students and 3 of them, or 25%, are coming from us. Illinois does a good job in general of getting students to that American degree level. The fact that we are part of that almost 1 million membership FFA organization, and we're offering at least a good portion of that half percentage is just so impressive. And the fact that we have so much support from our community to offer students ability to do those record books or SAEs to help achieve that degree, it's something that most students don't ever get the opportunity to. I mean, if you were to look at any award across any area, sports, academic, whatever you want, if you can say you could be in an elite club or organization that has half of 1% of 1 million people, that's impressive. The fact that we're able to do that here at Mercer County is bar none, because as Mr. Petrie just alluded to, some schools, they may go 6, 7, 8 years before they get 1 additional American degree. We're able to get 3 last year, 3 this year, and I'm seeing the potential for that continue every year. Our freshmen and sophomores, as they get ready to move up in that trend, we're seeing some really impressive record books, really impressive SAEs or supervised agriculture experiences. And I think that those numbers will continue to sustain or grow here at Mercer County. And I think that the programs being offered are able to help encourage students for that.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much. IASB Joint Annual Conference, Julie kind of already touched on that. It was in our board packet. I think that's what it was.
concerns that we had is our ability to communicate with the public. And I think just based on the response we had to our meeting as well as what we've seen from the survey, that we've got to find something different. Because that seems to have run its course. When we started this several years ago, we had really good turnouts, really good responses to the surveys, but we've dropped below 100 respondents this year on something that's been available to the public for over a month now. And I don't think that's getting us the information from the segment of the community that we're trying to connect with.
And, I mean, normally we use this information to help us set goals. And with a new superintendent coming on, I feel like we ought to allow them to have some input maybe into those goals as well. So we'll take this information and share it with the new superintendent when we hire one and come up with the goals for following for the next year and kind of work through that process. And maybe that new superintendent will have some other ideas on maybe how we can engage community, and if anybody else has an idea, we can look at those too. So, which leads us into the next one, which was one idea that Julie had brought to us from the school board convention, the Journey 12 proposal.
Yeah, and last month, the board had asked me to get some specific numbers for our district, and most of that is based on the production and mailing costs associated with that. If you can find that piece that's in there, I think that was in a separate email, not in the information section. There were approximately 4,500 mailing addresses within the district, which is almost in line with what we expected, because Journey includes all business mailing addresses as well. When we did our facility survey several years ago now, we mailed out just shy of 4,000 to every home in the district at that time, and so this isn't unexpected. That estimated cost is approximately $55,000 for our district for the first level of services. You can add additional things to that, and we've shared those examples at past meetings. I think most of you have. I've had them laying on the conference table in my office for a number of different meetings where you can have a chance to look through those, and they're very impressive. I think the question is that kind of investment worth the return? Now, I can tell you that a couple of the superintendents that I spoke with that are using that, they feel strongly that it does. But that's something, like you said, I think the board needs to talk about when they focus on some of their new goals and where that might be.
That's when Scott and I talked, we kind of decided to make it an informational item just because of as we said, a new superintendent, if we have some ideas they may think are better suited for our district. But I really like this idea, and I think we should keep it on the table. Does anybody have anything else to add?
Well, y'all know I love the idea.
Yeah.
Even if it's just a 1 year to see how it goes, get input from the public after doing it for a year.
And Scott, can we enter into an agreement with it at any time? I mean,
Yeah.
Does it have to start?
No, it can be at any time, but depending on when you do that, you might not be able to get say a fall issue.
Right.
If you wait, or if you do, it might be, everything might get shifted, because typically the fall issue will come out like in October.
Right.
But it might be bumped back depending, because they do come on site, they do all the interviews, they take all the pictures, based on the kinds of ideas you would provide them. I could say, I think you ought to come on site, do a piece about our junior high principal, who also happens to be a varsity basketball coach, and they had
Great
No.
year.
Award-winning
Great
coach.
year.
talk to our ag program, because I think we've got a lot of great things to share, and as we've all realized, trying to get that message out in a media desert is hard.
All right, 9.7, construction financing.
In the information piece, part of what's in there is what Tim King, our financial advisor, talked to us about last month. The first is just our EAV and rate history. You can see that we've been experiencing some very impressive EAV growth, and that's allowed us to borrow the funds that we did a few years ago, and also to feel relatively comfortable in being able to borrow funds to proceed with phase one, if that's what the board would choose to do. In there, and in his presentation, he talked about how some of these bond issues are exempt from your debt limit, and that's one thing Julie brought up. Others are not. It depends on the type of bond that you issue. Funding bonds are not. They can exceed debt limitations, and you see that on the second page. And again, this is the same presentation that he shared with you guys there. What I did ask him to include, because he only shared with us two potential $19 million borrowing schedules that would cover both phase one and phase two. In this packet, he's included a couple of different $13 million borrowing schedules, and I want to make sure you understand what the difference is in there. In the very first $13 million one, it says $13 million new issue plus $4.5 million refunding. And this minimizes the sales tax usage over the life of that bond. What that means is that we're going to get $13 million in new cash, and the $4.5 million in refunding is actually us cashing out part of the bonds that we currently own. We currently own a little over approximately $6 million of our own bonds from the prior issue. And in order to access that cash right away for a construction project, we're going to cash in that bond and get $4.5 million out of it while we keep the $1.5 million investment, because it's earning interest for us. And so then you have sufficient cash to proceed with your project. And that doesn't take any sales tax revenue beyond year 3. And remember, our sales tax revenue is typically about $550,000 a year. One of the things you'll want to compare on these two is the total cost of that borrowing. Because what you're borrowing, what you're going to pay back is not 13 million, it's 17.5 in that first one. Because you're cashing in, you're selling somebody else that $4.5 million of that $6 million bond you're holding. In the second one, this has a reduced amount of refunding. It only refunds $2.6 million, but it commits $250,000 of sales tax on an annual basis to that debt service. So again, we're cashing in part of the investment that you currently own to get cash, as well as a $13 million bond issue to meet the full cost of phase 1 construction. And you can see the total cost of that borrowing there. That's significantly less. But that's because you've got that extra 1.4 million that you didn't cash in. And when you spread payments on those kinds of numbers out over 20 years, the interest is considerable. One of the things that I'd like to do is, and I would recommend that the board do, is you get a little farther along in this project of determining when you want to to ask King's Financial to come back to the board with the most current numbers at that time, probably a month before you'd be ready to move through that process. And I don't know if you remember when he talked you through that, but that's a typically at least a 2-month process to make all those things work. So if you're looking at bids in January and you want to have at least some of those funds lined up, then you're probably looking at some kind of late summer, early fall issues. Are there any questions on what those schedules look like or how that stuff works at this point?
I would say we include it in the packet again next week, or next month, and go through it again, just so that, I know I learn something new every time, so.
The more times you look at it, the more it sinks in.
Yeah, the more I realize I didn't understand it the first time, so. All right, any questions from anyone on the construction financing? If not, we'll move on to administrative reports. The first one in the packet was ELA. They're not here. Powell Elementary. Everybody's ramping down this school year, ramping up for the down, I guess. Does anybody have anything they want to add or highlight or anything that's in?
I would just start off for our junior high, we have kids that represented the state track meet. After our report went in, they competed at the sectional. One man left, Eli Boswell. I want to say there's 5 or 6 young ladies that will compete on the girls' side of the state meet. We'll send out Thursday afternoon. Let them go down.
Did one of the relays make
Make
it?
a relay, there's several different individual events
Yeah, that's great.
on the girls' side.
I know we have some girls in the high school now.
We did walk of champions today, they took off today, so.
And sounds like Apollo, you guys had your kickball tournament or your kickball game, right? Do you guys still do field day?
Yeah, it's the 23rd.
It's the 23rd, all right. And you, Boston, do you guys have any exciting things for the?
We just I wanted to talk about just our students in the environment. We go on a lot of field trips. Fifth grade went to Chicago last Friday. Third grade's been to the museum. I published my program yesterday. Fourth grade, my fifth grade going to this week. And every time, I mean, the behavior is just exceptional for our students. It's compared to like other schools that are also nearby. And they behave so well. I mean, they're engaged, and we're just really proud of them. They comments from strangers like that. So I wanted to brag on them. They do very well out in public. And then we have 2 field days. We're splitting it up with grade levels, but we're not including parents. So it's next Tuesday and Wednesday. We just don't have the parking and the space really to do it. So Ms. Bergen has decided that she doesn't want to get into that this year. So we'll use that for next year. But we will have 2 days of pop-up morning hours. There's a
Parking
lot
and-
going on
Yeah.
there.
Parking and playgrounds have been an issue for New Boston all year
It's
during the
terrible.
construction.
Working is just
It's
dismal.
a sad, sad state for playing outside right now. It's gravel and slippers and concrete. I think it's really bad.
We'll get you there.
They're doing great though. They're really doing
Tough.
This is not anything building wide, teachers have 45 consecutive minutes of prep time every day, which sounds great in theory, don't kill me. Sounds great in theory. But if that passes, we're gonna have to redo our entire bell schedule, look at potentially altering how many periods we offer in a day or expanding class time. I know I don't wanna speak for the elementary, but the elementary level, that's a nightmare. Having teachers have 45 minutes of consecutive prep, when basically specials are giving the prep time for teachers, if that passes, it's going to be a nightmare for schools all over the state. So if you feel so inclined to speak up about that to our our local people, because like I said, it was kind of on the push down for a while, and then has a resurgence in the last month.
Who's pushing?
Gosh, who just did it there too? I'll have to look. What'd you say, Julie?
Used to be.
What'd you say?
Maybe somewhere northeast of here. Just a
That's
theory.
my guess.
But
But
I
it's,
would say, wouldn't
it's
they
gone
have
to
the
third,
same,
it's going to third reading already.
wouldn't they have the same issues as?
3907. Yeah, they would. I mean, this is, I should get one in there. This is an example of people who see an idea that looks good in theory, but have no idea how the system actually works to put it in place, like to make it actually functional.
And maybe check your board email, because I think ISD has sent out. They, talked to a couple people that not,
Yes.
vote against.
The Alliance gives you the one-click ability to file witness slips.
Oh.
For hearings
I
and,
don't know how recent that was, it wasn't that long ago.
And usually I try not to like push pot, like I try, but this is something that could have really big impacts, especially if it does, depending on when they were to sign it. If it were to go into effect next school year, schedules are done.
That's crazy.
And then everything's,
All the resolutions that the IASB brings to them, and this gets through,
Well,
it'll get.
There's also.
The ISB lobbied against it.
Right,
but
that's what I'm
yeah.
saying, it's funny,
Yeah.
we have so many of these resolutions that never ever see the light of day.
Yeah.
They
There's also
never
an
get talked about.
amendment to it though, that an amendment says, or the school board within the contracts will address it, so it
Gives you
had
an
no,
out.
it had no flexibility, and then they amended it so that there was the flexibility to.
I think the recent reading though took that out. I think so.
Well, that's April 19th.
Anyway, look into it.
Yeah.
I'll send you the number.
Yeah.
It's daunting because I know at the elementary level that would not
Yeah.
do that. That's a hard stretch.
And I'm not an administrator, and this is not my side. As a staff, I'd love a longer prep. However, from an elective standpoint, if we're required to go from 8 periods to 7 at the high school, it would destroy all
100%.
elective courses and courses students could take. So
Sure would.
from my side, as a staff member, while it sounds good in theory, I would not want to have less course offerings available, obviously, at the high school level.
I'll show you where you can fill out links.
Send me the link.
All right, that's all we can, looks like we could entertain a motion to go into closed session. Closed session. Yates, Luce. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Munson, second.
Peter over there. Bill Sherman in there.
Roll call, please.
Yates,
Yes.
Lower,
Yes.
Munson,
yes.
Nelson. Smock,
Yes.
Wagner.
Yes.
All right, we're in closed session at 7:00.